But last week we toured the AFC West. This week we tour the AFC South and figured we'd start with the Raiders' opponent from last night, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and beat reporter for Big Cat Country, Demetrius Harvey, joins me on the show now. Demetrius, how are you this afternoon, my man?
I'm doing all right. I have a little bit of a bug, so I might sound a little bad for radio, but I'm here.
You sound great to me right now. Let's see how you hold up. Let's see how you hold up through the interview, Demetrius. Last night, I was talking with Bill Williamson, who covers the Raiders for SB Nation, in the first hour of the show, and I pointed out to him, and he agreed with me. It seemed like the Raiders were throwing a lot more at the Jaguars than you'll usually see in a preseason game, and especially in the Hall of Fame game. Did you notice that? And did Doug Pederson and the Jaguars notice that and take any issue with it?
Absolutely. I noticed it at least. They were running a lot of, tosses, outside stuff, screens, just different things that you don't normally see in the preseason. Usually it's a lot more vanilla than that. I don't think that Doug Pederson and that staff took any issue with it. At least I didn't see anything after the game to indicate that they did. But, the Jaguars certainly were caught a little bit off guard, I would say, and they kind of suffered for it. There was a lot of big gashes up the middle early. There was, a couple misassignments on screens, a couple missed tackles, and I think all that stuff is something they're going to want to clean up in training camp moving forward.
Obviously, both teams coming in with first-year head coaches, guys who have had head coaching opportunities elsewhere in the league and getting new opportunities now, but very different approaches with Doug Pederson deciding to go kind of vanilla in that game yesterday. That being said, was he disappointed in any of those struggles that you're pointing out afterwards, or you just chalk it up all to first preseason game and a learning process here?
No, after the game, he did seem disappointed. I mean, I think it was asked, do you just say whatever when it comes to some of the missed tackles and everything? He said, no, you don't ever want to not score points. You don't ever want to miss tackles. That's something that is going to be emphasized. I don't think that he's satisfied with the result, regardless of there was no offensive starters, pretty much no offensive starters playing in last night's game. But just the overall feel of the game from Pederson's angle, I really do think that they want to sort of go in the workshop and make sure that they hone in on all these mistakes. A lot of it, he said, are teachable moments, things that can be corrected in practice. But yeah, absolutely. I think that preseason matters. Regardless of who's out there, you still want to go out and do your best and win because the other team's doing the same thing.
As far as the big picture with the Jaguars, and talking with Demetrius Harvey, Jaguars beat reporter for Big Cat Country, starting our tour around the AFC South here on Cattles Ramie. Obviously, last year a very chaotic, ugly season for the Jaguars with all the controversy surrounding Urban Meyer. How different? How much has the hire of Doug Pederson and the other changes made around there calm the waters for this franchise?
I mean, it's made all the difference. I think the major issue with last season was the players did not feel like they were being treated like men. They didn't feel like they were treated fairly. Urban kind of went in with the mentality of, hey, this is just like college. I'm going to treat them, hard, work them hard, love them hard in the way that you would maybe at Ohio State or Florida. Whereas, these guys are making millions of dollars. You can't go in there and call them names or say you suck or you this or that. You have to actually go in and make an impact on them as men and as people who, take to different kinds of teaching. I think that this year, with Doug Pederson, you can see it on their faces. They're happier. They're excited. Josh Allen said that there's a lot more professionalism in the locker room or in the building, I should say. There's just a lot of better vibes around the building. And I think that that's something that Doug Pederson has instilled immediately. He came in and said that they needed a lot of healing, and I think that's exactly what they're doing.
Any difference in how Urban Meyer and Doug Pederson interact with you guys in the media?
Oh, it's a world. it's a world of difference, man. It's a world of difference. Doug Pederson is actually approachable. He'll actually approach you. Urban Meyer, not so much.
That's a fair and succinct way to put it.
Yeah.
Talking with Demetrius Harvey, Jaguars beat reporter for Big Cat Country. Last year, obviously, with the hire of Urban Meyer before people saw what that was really all about. But that, along with the drafting of Trevor Lawrence, had Jaguars fans' hopes pretty high about the future of this franchise. Obviously, Urban Meyer did not go so well. Has any of the hope, the confidence in Trevor Lawrence, who many saw as a generational talent at quarterback when he was drafted a year ago, has any of that wavered at all?
Honestly, from what I've seen, no. I mean, you'll have the odd fan, of course, kind of say, he didn't do well last year. He has a lot to prove. But, other than that, this is a quarterback who every time he speaks at a press conference, people are excited. They're ready to run through a brick wall because they see the talent. They remembered the Clemson. They kind of say, forget about last season. You can't necessarily forget about it, but in a way you can forget how it unfolded because of why it unfolded. Urban Meyer was there. It was dysfunctional, a lot of chaos going through, and now you have a year of new hope because of a new coach. You still have Trevor Lawrence. You don't see necessarily that he's regressed in practice. All the reports that we've been saying have said that he's been looking good. So to the fan perspective, I feel like they still have a lot of hope in Trevor, and I think that this is sort of the year to decide whether or not they'll continue with that hope.
Last night on the broadcast and in that Hall of Fame game, they pointed out a number of times that this is a Jaguars team that I think they said spent more in free agency this offseason than any team ever has in one offseason. Even with that being the case, as bad as this thing got last year for Jacksonville, it's going to be a slow turnaround and build back for this franchise, don't you think?
Absolutely, and I think that Doug even came in right away and said this is not a one-year fix. A lot of fans, took issue with that because they want it to be fixed right away. But he's right. This is a team that needs a lot of help. You don't win only 4 games in 2 years because of that. So it needs a lot, and I think that's why they went out and they got guys like Christian Kirk, they got guys like Brandon Sheriff, Oli Fatukasi, Foye Oluwakin, just guys that can come in right away, start, and be centerpieces for the offense and defensive side of the football. So, it's definitely a team that's going to take some time. I think that they have another draft cycle, another offseason to get through before they can really take off. But I think that they're heading in the right direction as long as, some of the pieces stay healthy and some of the pieces continue to get better.
That's Demetrius Harvey covering the Jaguars for Big Cat Country, and our guest here for the last few minutes on Cattles and Ramie, kicking off our tour around the AFC South and talking a little bit about last night's Hall of Fame game. Really appreciate the time, Demetrius. Thanks a lot, man.
I appreciate you guys.
Thank you. There's Demetrius Harvey joining me on the